Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums. Today, we're going to take a look at the discography of a band that has been asked for a million times, I'm exaggerating, obviously, from many of you over the last couple months. And it's a band that I dig quite a bit. I've just been kind of waiting and wondering exactly how I wanted to work this, because they've got a shitload of albums. It's over 20, I believe. And I have, I think, 98% of them. Right, I've heard them all. And I decided instead of doing the entire catalog, because there's like a big, the more recent stuff is actually pretty good. But man, I always kind of go back to a lot of those earlier albums. So I said, you know what? Rather than just do all 20 something and just kind of, I said, you know what? I'm going to pick out my top 10. That's what I'm going to do. So this ranking the albums, or the studio albums, is going to be my 10 favorite Eloy albums. So this is going to be, if you're not really familiar with Eloy, these are the 10 to start with. Start with any of these in my top 10. I think they're all really good. Actually, all their albums are pretty damn good. Is there really a stinker among them? There's a couple that are kind of on the weak side, but all of them have stuff to that you can kind of get into, and they all have a good amount of quality. But my top 10, that's what it was. It's like, I originally was doing all of them, but there's such for me, a big difference in my top 10 and everything else. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to give you my top 10. So here we go. Feel free to rank these as you like them. If you want to rank the whole catalog, go right ahead. If you want to do your top 10, that's cool too. No right or wrong answer here, obviously. And this ranking here, even in my top 10, could kind of change a little bit. Because, like I said, some of them are just really of equal quality, all pretty damn good. So my first one here, my number 10 from 1982, is a little album called Time to Turn. And yes, you will notice many of these album covers are pretty damn spectacular on most of them. And I believe this is a Rodney Matthews album cover, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just check. No, this is actually by Winfried Reinbacher. Because I know Rodney worked on a couple of these, but maybe this is the guy who did most of the early ones. Time to Turn, 1982. Again, Eloy started off as kind of like a pretty rockin', kind of heavy rock, hard rock, bluesy hard rock, Hammond organ guitar type of a band. Started to then incorporate, some Pink Floyd influences along the way, some space rock, things like that. Lots more synth, stinging lead guitar. Here by the early 80s, they're very, very synth driven. But still, the kind of epic feel and scope of the band is, very much at play. You got Frank Barneman on lead vocals and guitars. He's the kind of, the leader of the band. He's been the mainstay throughout the whole history of the band. He's got very, very distinct vocals, and even to this day, he's very heavily German accented English vocals. Some people don't like the vocals. Some people are totally fine with it. I'm fine with it because it's part of their sound. I've been listening to Eloy so long. It's like I kind of like, you know what you're going to get. But there's some people who hear Eloy for the first time. And they're like, ooh, those vocals are a little different. And they are. But I don't mind them. I think they fit the music. So yeah, this, again, a lot of synths on this album. Not a lot of their kind of mid-period stuff, or the early and mid-period stuff. A lot of really long songs. And here, a little more manageable. You got End of an Odyssey, which is approaching 10 minutes long. You got Through a Somber Galaxy and Behind the Walls of Imagination, which are 6+, but really good arrangements. Like I said, lots of kind of cool vintage synths and things like that. But still a really good album, I think. Next up, number 9, Planets from 1981. Another cool album cover right there. And is this by the same guy, I wonder? Let's take a look. Here. Yep. Winfried Reinbacher. So another, like I said, early 80s, another very synth-driven album. Really good melodies here. Again, you've got kind of like shorter songs, which is okay. You got Sphinx, you got On the Verge of Darkening Lights. Mysterious Monolith is, nearly 8 minutes long. Most of the rest are in the 5 to 6, 7 minutes and change. Great synths, great guitar. Pretty strong album. Very, very melodic. And a lot of their music, to cite one of the titles of their album, very kind of floating prog. It's not really heavy. It's not overly complex, but lots of layers. Like I said, Pink Floyd and a little bit of Hawkwind, it's like a marriage of Pink Floyd and Hawkwind. Always come to mind when I think of this band. So that's number 9. All right, number 8. Let's go to their debut from 1971, self-titled Eloy. This is a much, much different album. than any of the others. This is pretty heavy. This is heavy rock, kind of like early Black Sabbath, early Budgie, maybe early, the more riffy Jethro Tull. No real keyboards, very little keyboards on this album. This is before they started to adapt like, Hammond organ and Moog and Mellotrons and all that kind of stuff. So this is just like, big, bruising, rocking, very unlike any of the other albums to follow. You got Something Yellow, Today, Voice of Revolution, Song of the Paranoid Soldier. Just if you want to hear like a really cool early 70s German heavy rock album, wouldn't quite call it krautrock. This is pretty cool album. Bluesy heavy rock, a lot of big riffs, very cool. Like I said, Sabbath, Budgie, Tull, that sort of thing. All right, number 7. How about from 1980, Colors? Fabulous album cover there. I believe this is the Rodney Matthews album cover art I was thinking about, if I'm not mistaken. Boy, everything is like written like microscopic, so I'm not going to be able to read that today. But yeah, pretty sure this is Rodney Matthews right there. Okay. Again, very symphonic, lots of synths. Got some flutes on here, kind of like it's like Pink Floyd meets Jethro Tull a little bit. Some really good songs on here. You got Horizons, Illuminations, Giant, Child Migration. Really good stuff. Just a really fun album, and well worth your time, I think. Definitely a highlight in their catalog. And this particular reissue, which did not even realize, it shows you how long I've had this stuff. This actually has the first album on here as well. So 2 on 1. So I have 2 copies of the first one. Go figure. All right, next up, number 6. Their second album from 1973. It's called Inside. Okay, so here's where the Hammond organ's coming in. Big time. So if it's got that big, beefy, Deep Purple Uriah Heep sound to it. Lots of organ. Good hard rocking songs. You got Land of Nobody, which starts up like 17 minutes and change. How prog is that, right? You got the title track, Future City, Up and Down, and then On the Road, which kind of finishes it all out. Good, bruising German hard rock, lots of organ, kind of proggy. They're working on it, right? The prog is starting to come into the music now, finally. 1976, coming in at number 5, Dawn. Another really strong album from them. Probably next to the debut, this is probably their hardest rocking album. Okay. Got great drumming on here from Jürgen Rosenthal. Oh, wait. Jürgen Rosenthal. Where do I know that name from? You're absolutely correct. Played with the Scorpions for a spell. Okay. He also played with Uli John Roth's band for a little bit. So, yeah, a lot of those German players kind of floated in and out of a lot of each other's bands. So, yeah, he's on this album. Okay, Jürgen Rosenthal. Great drumming from him, by the way, on here. Here you got lots of Hammond organ, a lot of crunchy guitar work, bluesy riffs and solos. Plenty of Mellotron on this album, plenty of Moog synthesizer, but definitely a rockin' album. What do we got in here? You got Between the Times, Awakening. This is like a really cool mix of like kind of shorter tracks and bigger, longer, beefier tunes. All right. You got Lost, The Decision. All sorts of cool stuff on here. A little more songs, a little more, like I said, little interludes in between the longer tracks. Definitely a good album. Pretty heavy album too. Like I said, out of all their albums, that one in the debut, easily their most rocking. All right, coming in at number 4, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to rank this a lot higher, and that's totally okay. I get why a lot of people would. There's a reason why I don't rank it a little higher. But Ocean from 1977. It's their big kind of concept piece, all about fall of Atlantis and all that kind of stuff. It's only four lengthy tracks, big production values here. The amazing cover art. I always love this cover. Very epic sounding in scope. Their biggest seller. Great keyboards. You got, Moog and organ and Mellotron, electric piano, all that kind of stuff. Just a very, I want you to see this artwork as it should be. There you go. There's the whole kit and caboodle there. The reason why I don't rank this a little bit higher, it's a great kind of proggy concept album. Like I said, it's very epic. It's very, it's from a lyrical and conceptual standpoint, very complex. I find it a hard listen at times. Like, I really have to be in the mood to listen. They have other albums which are a little bit more immediate, like the one that comes right after this. I actually like a lot better, but it's still really good. I mean, it's just it's quality. It's just like I have to be in the mood to listen to this because it's like the songs are really long. It's just very dense. It's just they have more memorable material, I think, but the genius that went behind creating this, I think, needs to be recommended. So, like I said, 4 is pretty high up there, but I know there's a lot of people that's going to automatically be their number 1. It's not quite there for me. I like others a little bit better, including my number 3 from 1975, The Power and the Passion. Another concept album. All right, it's kind of here where, the prog is really starting to come out of these guys now. There are a couple albums in. They're kind of putting that kind of like, Deep Purple style, heavy organ guitar rock behind them a little bit. Still lots of organ on here. It's still fairly heavy. Maybe not quite as heavy as Dawn, but still pretty heavy. Okay. A lot of fun. All right. Really good album. Again, you got a mix of kind of shorter and longer tracks. You got Love Over 6 Centuries is definitely a good one. Mutiny. Okay, Daylight. A lot of good stuff on here. Great keyboards on these albums, I'm telling you. And I forget his name. Let's see if I can butcher his name for you here. Where is the list of guys? I probably should show you this because it's pretty cool, actually. You can see the CD reissue's got all sorts of live shots of them, which is kind of neat. What is his name? What is your name, sir? Hold on. This is what Power and the Passion. So, on keyboards, and he played a lot in the early part of the band. Manfred Weichzork. Okay, on the organ, piano, mellotron, synthesizers, and I believe he's on a good chunk of these albums. Actually, no, not really. Then you got Detlev Schmitzkin on Ocean. So apparently you got some different guys playing. Revolving Door. Yeah, but Manfred plays on a lot of the earlier albums. So, but no matter who they had in the band, their mastery of organs and synthesizers and things like that, really, really, really strong. All right, the top 2. So for number 2, I'm going to go to 1974's Floating. This is a pretty heavy hitting album too. This album for me is got their best mix of kind of like that early Deep Purple Heap organ driven sound and the kind of big epic prog Pink Floyd stuff that's coming. I think this is the best collision of the two here for me. Good chunk of longer songs, which I really like. The Hammond organ tones are great on here. A lot of really good bluesy hard rock riffing from Frank. You got Castle in the Air, which is a great song. Madhouse is absolutely terrific and rocking. And then the cool proggy title track. So really, really good album. Always dug that album cover too. Big, bright, and colorful. So my number 1 was never in question. Ironically, and we talk about this all the time, this is the first Eloy I ever got. So a lot of times, the band that you really like, the first one that you get, a lot of times kind of sticks with you. But the reason why I like this album so much is it's very immediate. The songs on here are fairly catchy, yet they're challenging. Okay, and this is a very, very Pink Floyd sounding album, I think. When I listen to this album, I think Pink Floyd Animals era. Okay, so it's Silent Cries and Mighty Echoes from 1979. Big soaring melodies, with a lot of space rock overtones, some wicked melodic guitar solos from Frank Borneman, huge keyboards, all right, memorable songs. You got Astral Entrance, which is absolutely terrific, all right. You got the 2-part Apocalypse, which, again, sounds like kind of like Animals era Pink Floyd. You got the Mighty Echoes, some just epic, epic stuff. You got, most of the tracks, with the exception of one, are over 7 minutes long. Excellent, excellent album. Love the artwork, too. If I were to recommend any Eloy album to you, one to listen to first, that is always the one that I choose, because I just think it's just so immediate. And I know, especially like this, going to be a lot of Pink Floyd fans probably watching this who have never heard Eloy. And yeah, if you like kind of mid-70s Pink Floyd, early mid-70s Pink Floyd, go listen to Silent Cries and Mighty Echoes. That would have been my first choice. If you want something a little more epic, go to Ocean. If you want something a little more rocking, go to Floating or Dawn or something like that. So there you have it. So again, a lot of other really good albums. This is the cream of the crop. I just figured, you know what, we have enough to talk about with these 10, rather than do like a long, overblown show here. These are the 10 you should concentrate on. The others are decent too. This is clearly the best stuff out of their catalog. So visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. So we'll see you guys shortly, hopefully. We got Jack Toledano coming on the show for a top 10 songs of Traffic. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. See you then. Bye-bye.